This conference will now be recorded.
So what a small recap what we discussed yesterday's session. So we have seen like before what is a constructor, and yesterday we have seen what are the types of discussed what are the types of constructors that you have, and we have gone through the access specifiers and what is generally an access specifier is. So whenever you do an application, like you will for every class and a method you will have an accessibility. It states that okay, so what is the level of accessibility for a method, so that's what it will be indicated by your access specifier. So why you need an accessibility? Because when you take a class, all the in a class all the methods do not require the same accessibility. For example, if you want to do a CURD operation, as I told you before, so whenever the read operation can be applicable for all the classes, like every user can able to read, right? I'm just trying to read the data from a database, that will not have any restriction. But when you are trying to do an update or create that delete, so this kind of operations have an effect on your database, right? So these are nothing but these operations cannot be public all the ways. I'm just taking as an example. So they can make it as a private protected default based on the requirement. So, but you will not have the same requirement for all the classes. Sorry, for all the methods in a class. And what is about the public access specifier? Public is the one where it can able to be accessed anywhere. It means within the package, outside the package also, which is having the more accessibility. When it comes to the private, it is accessibility is very limited. It is within the class itself. So protected have the accessibility with the child and parent. Like I can able to access outside the package also, but you should be having child and parent relationship. And when it comes to the default, you cannot access outside the package. So I hope no queries in access specifier, right? Fine. Sorry for this. So I don't know why this blue one coming. So today we'll see a small topic of abstract and inheritance concepts. So generally, what is an abstract method and what is an interface? Sorry, an abstract as well as interface concepts. So whenever you write a method, so I am writing a method something like I have a class A, and what I'll be writing, I'll be writing a method. So when I'll be writing a method, I'll be writing something a method called M1. So here in this my M1 method, what I'm going to write, I'm going to write some logic in this M1. Sorry, I don't know why it is. So I'll be writing some logic in the M1 method, but there is a concept called abstract methods. There is a this abstract is a keyword, and you have an abstract methods as well as an abstract class. So what is this abstract method and an abstract class? So the main purpose of a method is to write the logic, right? So, but you have in Java, I'll be telling why you have that concept, but we'll just understand first of all what is an abstract method and what is an abstract class. And later point of time, I'll be conveying you why you need an abstract class or abstract method or an interface. I'll be telling all this. So here, I do not want to write some logic for some kind of method. It is not like I do not want to write, or you can take, you do not load the logic of some method. So for example, you have written a method means you have known the logic, but assume that as a developer for in some class, you do not know that logic, right? But you want to write that method there. You will be writing that method there. So then what you will be how you will write that method is nothing but you will declare that method as an abstract method where method will not have a definition. Method will have only the declaration. If you see here, I am just having the method definition here. It means from starting, I'm just closing this. So this is a method with a definition, right? Here I'll be writing a method only with a declaration. So void something m2, and I want to make this method as an abstract method. So I will not have the body. So generally every method will have a body, but your abstract methods will not have a body. They will end with semicolon. And how you identify, what you need to do is nothing but you should be writing a keyword called abstract before a method, right? So this is how you write an abstract method. So a method, what is an abstract method? A method without a body. So that is nothing but your abstract method. And these are nothing but my normal method. So whenever in a class, if you are having an abstract method, right? For example, a class having a 10 methods. So among the 10 methods, if at least one method is an abstract method, for sure your class should be an abstract class. So if not, your compiler will throw an error. So generally, if you are not having any abstract methods, not a problem. Your class can be a normal class. So, but if your class is having at least one abstract method, then your class must be an abstract. So if you are not writing as an abstract, your compiler will throw an error. Oh, but vice versa is again false. What is the meaning of vice versa? If I made my class as an abstract class, it is not mandatory to have an abstract methods. You can have a concrete methods also, all the concrete methods also. So that is also not a problem, but it is not suggested. So whenever you are making a class as an abstract class, it indicates that you are having at least one abstract method. So I'll be having at least one abstract method. So for sure, if you have an abstract method, then your class should be an abstract class. I'll show with this an example. But I hope you are clear with this concept. What is an abstract class? What is an abstract method? What is an abstract method? A method without a body.
And in this abstract class, method, we do not have any body, right? Which you are saying, but class I missed actually.
Class is, so I'll repeat it again. So I'll just take with an example and repeat it. Fine. Class, I'm just writing an abstract example. So my class name itself is an abstract example. Okay. Sorry for this one. I don't know why this button is coming. I have tried a lot of ways, but it is not removing it from my laptop. It is always defaulting it. I'll write from the down. I have written a class and you can able to see it, right? Okay. So what is this method? M1. This is a normal method that we have seen from previous example. So what I'm taking here, an example of an abstract method. So how I'll write an abstract method? I'll write an abstract predefined keyword and a void, and I'll be writing a method. So whenever you write an abstract method, that will not have a body. So this is my abstract method. So what I told you is nothing but whenever a class is having at least one abstract method, for sure your class should be a normal. It should not be a normal class. It should become as an abstract class. If not, your compiler will throw an error. So you see, I have writing in my class as an abstract. In my class, I'm writing an abstract method, and your compiler is throwing an error. So you see, what could be the error? It will state that your class must be an abstract. So here it is not giving the suggestion, but if you can point over here and it will tell must be an abstract class to define an abstract method. So you can read the statement that the abstract example is a normal Java class. So that must be an abstract class to define abstract method. So a class is having an abstract method, for sure your class should be an abstract. Is this clear? But vice versa, sorry, you are asking something?
No, it's clear.
Okay. But vice versa is not the, for vice versa, it will not throw a compile time error. So what is the meaning of vice versa? If I having an abstract class and if I do not write any abstract methods, and if I'm writing all the normal methods, then it will not throw any compile time error, but it is not suggested one. You see, I have written a class as an abstract class, but I do not have any abstract methods here, but still it is not an error. But vice versa will be again compile time. If I remove abstract, it will throw me an error for sure. Compile time. So, and one more thing, you cannot able to create an object of your abstract class. So if I'm trying to create an object of an abstract class, it will throw me a compile time error. So whenever you are trying, you cannot able to create an abstract class, then who is going to execute the methods of an abstract class? Methods that are present in abstract class, right? And who will be writing the logic of your abstract method? So there are two questions, right? So assume that this is my abstract example and I have two methods. One is M1 and one more is M2. So your M1 is a normal concrete method. You will be having a logic here. I'm just writing a method with the body, right? I'm just writing system.println inside M1 of abstract example. So this is my normal method. So this is a non-static method. So to call the non-static method, what I need to do, I need to create an object. But what I'm telling, I cannot create an object of an abstract example, right? So then who is going to execute? Then how can I execute this M1 method? That's one my question. And one more question is, what is the purpose of a method? So when you write a method, that should have a body, right? So the general purpose of method is nothing but a method is the one where it will have a body or it will have a logic. But what your abstract method is doing, it is bifurcating that it is not having that rule. What it is having, it is deviating that rule and telling that an abstract method will not have a body and will not have a logic. So then who is going to write the logic for this? So if a method is not having a logic, it is useless to declare it, right? So then who is going to solve this problem? That is nothing but your child class. So what is a child class? That inheritance concept. So is it like clear with that inheritance concept? What is a child and parent? Yesterday we have just started with some manager and employee, right? So, and what I'm telling is generally you will have this inheritance because how we have a real life child and parent relation, the same thing in Java. A classes will have a relationship. That is nothing but your relationship is nothing but your inheritance. So why we generally go for inheritance? Whenever a class is having some properties and the same properties to be given to another class, then what we do, we can just use something called inheritance concept where we make the relationship between these two classes by making parent and child. So what I can do, this can be answerable for inheritance by using inheritance concept. It means I need to write a class which extends that abstract example. For sure, your abstract classes will have the child classes. So how I'll be writing a child class for abstract example? As I told you, whenever you want to make a child class, I'll be writing some class child ex. I'm taking an example of child ex, and if I want to make this as a child, what I need to do? Extends abstract example. So this is how I'll make child and parent relationship. So who is my parent? Abstract example is my parent, and child exe is my child. So here I'll tell you what is the reason of that. And before that, are you clear with what is overriding and overloading? Have I covered this concept? Is that I have covered before? Is it like what is overriding, overloading? Anyone?
No, I don't remember. Maybe.
Fine, I'll recap, or maybe I have not covered it. I'll tell it. That is a very popular interview question for freshers. What is the difference between your overloading and overriding? When I don't know that answer, many people ask me, but when I know, no one is asking me. It's a popular interview question, but in the freshers time. We pass that there, and we'll complete this and we'll go there. Overloading and overriding. So first of all, we'll see what is overloading. So this makes overriding very easy. So generally, we'll declare a methods, right? So inside a class, I can have a different methods with the same name and a different signature. So I'll tell what is the signature. So I am having a method called void some add in a class. Here what will be the signature will be here overloading states same name different signature. So here your signature may be it can be type of parameters, or it can be number of parameters, order of parameters, type number order, one more is your return type. So what this overloading states a method which is having same name and different signature. In the signature, anyone can be fault. It can be type can be fault, or number of parameters can be fault, or order may be fault, or return type may be fault. like anything, you can tell that as a signature. So if you see, I have a method called add. So similarly, I'll be writing one more method called add. But here what I'll do, I'll pass two parameters, int a, comma, int b. So here, before case, how many parameters you are passing? You are passing 0 parameters. In this case, how many parameters you are passing? You are passing 2 parameters. So same method name is same. If you see, there's a method name is same, and the return type even it is same. Both are having a void as a return type. But what is making this difference? These two methods difference? Number of parameters. You see, this number of parameters making it as different. So you call this as overloading. Otherwise, there is a type of parameters also make it. So what is the meaning of type of parameters? Here I am having int a. Here I'll have float f. So here what are the number? 1 parameters. Their number of parameters are 1. What is the return type? Void. Name add. But what is making this difference? This is nothing but type. Here this is type of int, this is the type of float. And what is the other one? There may be the order may be also different. If I say int a, comma, something like float b. I can say float f, comma, int a, anything.
So that means we will be writing these many number of permutation and combination methods, right?
Oh, no. It is your choice actually. The thing is, whatever the thing that is different here, you call it as overloading. You are telling, okay, how many, this many you can write it. Yes. It depends on the requirement. You may write anyone in this.
Like you were, like yesterday you were talking about the constructor with one value, without value, and two variables, right?
You can take like that also. Yes.
Okay.
So you have that constructor name will be same, but different parameters, right? The same thing here also.
Right. Yeah.
So here, if you see, what is the difference here? Same name, number of parameters are
Sequence, yeah. So parameter
but
sequencing like int float and float int. So both.
so then it comes to here order of parameters, right? So the order of parameters are different here. So this you call it as also the overloading. And the next one will be your return type. I think you understood. Here I can have a return type called int. So here I'll be having the same thing. Both are 0 parameters, but what is the difference between these two made because what is the different signature they have? They have the different signature based on the return type. So whatever the thing you say, same name, different signature, you call it as overloading. So what is overriding? I think you are clear with overloading.
Yeah, overloading is clear.
So overloading is something like same name, same signature. You call this as override. You'll have same name as well as same signature. It means the overloading will be done in the same class and overriding will be done in child and parent. You cannot do overriding in same class. You understood this, right? So generally you will do overloading in same class. Can write these things in a same class. But when it comes to overriding, it is same name, same signature. Means you will have same name and the signature means type of parameters, order of parameters, all things will be same. But you will be doing that in a child and parent. So I have a class A, and here I can write void m1 method, and when it comes to class B, extends A. Here, what I need to write? I need to write void m1. Same. So you see, same name m1 m1. Return type is void, 0 parameter. 0 parameter. So this is nothing but your overriding in child and parent that you do. So why you need this overriding? For example, as I told you, your child is going to get all the properties of your parent. Your child is going to get all the your M1 property, M1 method, right? But what you do not want the parent logic to be executed. Some scenario you want the child logic to be executed. Then you will be doing that overriding. You got it? Is it clear what is overriding and overloading?
Yeah, overriding, can you tell one more time, please?
Okay.
Overloading is fine. Overriding is little.
Okay, confusing. Okay,
Yeah.
not confusing. Here, what is overloading? Same name, different signature. You are clear with that. In this overriding, what is same name and signature of the same. There is nothing difference here. But this overriding will be done in child and parent. This inheritance concept. I have a class A and I have a method called M1, right? And I'm having a class B extends A. So what is this B? This is a child and my A is a parent, right? So here what I want to do, I am doing an overriding here. So what I'm doing, I am writing void same M1 method. So you see, return type is void, return type is void. M1, M1. How many parameters you have? Zero parameter, zero
Zero.
parameter. Is there any change in the signature? Nothing changed among all this. We have for a signature, we told all this, right? Type, number, order, return type. Nothing was changed in this case, right?
Right.
So then you call that as overriding. Overriding means there should be no change in signature as well. Same name, same signature. And where you do this in a child and parent. If you do it in the same class, it will throw compile time error. You got this?
Yes.
Okay. So now we go here. So if in general scenario, if your class is not an abstract class, if it is a normal class, this overriding is completely an optional thing. It depends on your requirement. So as I told you, why you do this overriding. So whenever you are having some properties of a parent, obviously that properties will be coming to the child, and that is the concept of inheritance. But what you need is nothing. But in some scenarios, you do not want the parent logic to be executed, right? You do not want the parent thing. It is not for all the scenarios, but in some scenarios, you do not want the parent logic to be executed. Some scenarios, you want child to have its own logic. Then what you do that override. And what you do whenever you are you are creating a parent object and calling that, which method will execute? Parent M1 method. When you create a child object and call that, which method will execute? Child M1 method. Right? So what I'm telling, so whenever you do not want the logic present in the parent M1. So what I'm doing, I'm overriding it and I'm writing the same name in my child class. Right? And if I am creating an object of B, some equals to new B. So if I call B dot M1, so can you tell me which method will execute M1 in child or M1 in parent? It means M1 in B class or M1 in A class?
B class.
B class,
Oh,
obviously.
yeah.
You are creating B object, but
Yes.
you want to have something? Yes.
No, it's a B class.
You are asking something you want?
No. I was. Let's say if you want to create some, I mean, you want to use M1 from the parent class, then is there any way to use it, or?
You created it, but you
Yeah.
can. There's a lot of ways. We have seen it.
Super. Okay.
I think I have told this concept, right?
No, but super you did not. We were discussing yesterday that we can use super to use the.
We have covered this and this with brackets. I think I have told you, I'll tell you super and super with brackets in inheritance, right? Is that
Yes.
right?
No,
Okay.
yeah, fine. It's fine now.
Okay, we'll cover that. We'll cover it here. But as of now, you are clear, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's clear now.
So super.m1 makes that to call a parent method, right? Assume that I do not have any m1 method here, right? There is no m1 method in my
Mhm.
child. So if I call b.m1 method, obviously which method will execute?
Parent one, the one which is
In
class
parent.
A.
What, so
Yeah.
what is the what will be it will do when you call b.m1, it will check whether m1 method is present in your child or not. No, it is not present. So it will go to the corresponding parent. Who is the corresponding parent of your b? A. And it will execute the parent m1 method. So, but you had a scenario that you do not want every time to be executed parent m1 method. So then you do some overriding it. And when you do overriding and you call the super, it is going to execute both the methods. So when you create a B class object and call M1, BM1 execute. Whenever you create A class object and call A.M1, which method execute? M1 in your parent. Right? So in this way, you can execute child method as well as parent method based on your requirement. So this is nothing but your overriding. We'll see that more clearly with this inheritance or with this concept. Hope you are clear as of now. When you
Yes.
want to execute both the methods, I can just call super.m1, which will first execute parent and it will come to your child. So what Java will do, Java will be giving all the concepts that, so based on the requirements, you need to be used it in your application, right? So in this case, when I say class child ex extends abstract examples, right? Here, overriding is mandatory. So in general scenario, your overriding is not mandatory. But in this scenario, your overriding is mandatory. Why overriding is mandatory? Because I have extended my abstract class. So which method overriding is mandatory? Your abstract method overriding is mandatory. So it is not mandatory to override your M1 method, but it is mandatory to override which method? M2 method. If you are not trying to override M2 method, it will throw me a completer error. Why M2 is mandatory? Because it is an abstract method. So someone has to write this logic. So if the parent is not writing the logic, who then it is which whose responsibility to write the logic is the child responsibility to write the logic of an abstract method which is present in your parent class. So in this case, overriding is mandatory of an abstract method. So I can just add add unimplemented methods. You can see that error also. Add unimplemented methods. So your M2 is an unimplemented method. I can just click on this and it will be adding it. So you can see at the top annotation also it override. So overriding of M1 is not mandatory. It's an optional. You can, if you want, you can do it. I can write, but it is not a compile time. So now we got the answer for the first question, that second question that I have asked. Like what I made, like this is as I told you, you cannot able to create an object of an abstract class. Then who is going to execute this method? When you have an abstract method, who is going to write the logic? A child is going to write the logic for that method. And who is going to execute this method? Even the child, because a child will have a access to the parent method, right? Obviously, if I create a child object and if I call an M1 method, the M1 method which is present in my parent will be executed. So this is how you will execute the non-abstract methods that are present in your abstract class. So I can just write here system.out.println. You may have the like a question why you need to do all this. Why I can just declare this method here itself and write the logic, or why you are doing all this, why you are declaring a method as an abstract in some class, and why you are trying to do override, and why you are writing a logic in the child class. You have this question, right? I'll be answering. inside I can tell child M2 method. So what I'll have a main method, and what I can do, I can able to create, I should be creating an object of abstract class. No, I should be creating an object of child. Assume that if you are trying to create an object of an abstract class, it will throw me in a compile time error. You cannot create an object of an abstract class. X equals to new X. So you see, here it will be an error. Cannot instantiate the type of abstract EX. Instance state means you cannot create an object. So why you cannot create an object? Because what is an abstract class? Abstract class in general scenario will obviously will have an abstract method. So whenever a class is having an abstract methods, and if the Java allowed you to create an object, what happens? You can able to call an abstract method. So if, for example, if I call ex.m2, what will be my object? Nothing. You're not going to get anything, right? If I call ex.m2, because it's an abstract method. So that's the reason they are, Java has restricted to create an object of an abstract class. So to which I need to create an object, I need to create the child class which extends the abstract class. Child exe some exe as a reference variable, new keyword. And what I'll do, ex dot m2. Which one it will call? It will call m2 in my child. Ex dot m1. Which will call which method? M1 in my parent. Right? So I'll just execute it, and it will be getting the same output. Okay. So here I need to execute which one? I need to be executing this child exe, because the child exe is having the main method. Child exe. So you see, inside child exe m2 method, inside m1 of abstract. So your parent m1 method also executed, your child this one also. So if you try to override this, which one will execute? Obviously your child will be executed, not your parent. If I run this, it should be m1, m2 which are present in my child itself, not the parent. Why? Because you created a child object, and if the method is available in your child, it will not go to your parent. So parent is my abstract example. So inside child m1 and inside child m2. Any queries? Okay, 1 minute, I'll be back. I'll some more time.
Hello, Nani. Hello. Hello, yesterday. Darling, get out of here. Got the name. Mommy, you even wonder. Mommy, find the range. Chitty. Celebrate, na? Celebrate class. That is what you want. That's the Sorry, yesterday. Huh? Tinnavane. Yeah? Tinnavane.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So you understood this concept, right? So here you understood that overriding of your M2 method is mandatory in case of whenever it's an abstract. And there is one more point that I need to tell you. Whenever you are trying to do overriding, it may be the abstract method or it may be the normal method. So okay, an abstract method by default it will be. So okay, take it as a normal method. So here if you are taking this M1 method and what you are doing, you are trying to do this overriding of your M1 method. So when you are trying to do the overriding of a method, so the method will have a same name and the same signature. That is sure, right? So then what about the accessibility? So whether I should have the same accessibility or I can increase the accessibility or I can reduce the accessibility. What I'm talking about, an access specifier. So yesterday we have discussed, right? So for this M1 method, I am not having anything before a method. So then what will be my accessibility? It is default. So when I am trying to do override, I'm keeping the same thing. That is not an issue. So whenever you are trying to override, your accessibility can be same. But even you can do other thing is whenever you are trying to do overriding, you can increase the accessibility. What I mean to say increase an accessibility. So which one has more accessibility? Your default or public? I'll just give the numbering for an accessibilities based on the access that we have. So for low accessibility, I'll give a number called private. So which has less accessibility. So after private, which has more accessibility?
Protected.
Protected. No, it is protected stands for 2. You have default. So why? Because I was giving from lower to higher, right? So whenever you have a default, it cannot be accessible outside the package, right? And your protected also cannot be accessible, but I told you protected can be accessible in indirect way. What is an indirect way? Whenever there is a child and parent relationship. But in case of default, even you have child and parent relationship, it cannot be accessible. So your private has more access, less accessibility. Next you have a default. Next you have protected, and next you have public. So higher number gives more accessibility. So 4 means this has more accessibility. So 3 less 2. So 1 means very less accessibility. So it is within the class. So here the concept is, whenever you are trying to do the overriding, you are not allowed to reduce the accessibility. You can increase the accessibility or you can keep the accessibility same. So the same thing, what you are trying to do here, you are trying to, this is a default. When you are trying to do override M1 method, you are keeping it as default. That is not an issue. So, but this is a default, which is of having an accessibility what 2, right? So can I able to make that as private? No. Why? Because if I am trying to reduce the accessibility, it should throw me an error. So for an M1 method, I am trying to keep it as private. What happened? It is throwing me an error. So you can read what is that error. Cannot reduce the accessibility of inherited method from an abstract example. So you are not allowed to reduce the accessibility of a method. So can I keep it as protected then? Can I keep this as a protected? From default to protected, can I do? From default to private, I cannot do. From default to protected, can I do? What happened? Like,
Yeah, seems like
confusing?
yeah.
Okay. Not worry. I'll come from the beginning.
But protected can be. I mean, if it is protected, it can be also again it can be accessible via other method, right?
First of
Don't recall the
all,
exact.
whether are you clear with accessibility concept? This public, private, protected, these concepts, are you clear? If you are not clear with us, this get confused.
Yeah, please tell us one more time.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. I'll be telling it one more time. Uh, so here you have different accessibilities. What are there? Public, private, protected, default. So whenever the accessibility is of public, it means that can be accessible anywhere. It means outside the package also. So yesterday I have shown you with this example. So I have a class A, which is present in which package? com.examples2. So what is a package? I told you package is something like combination of classes, right? So here this A is in which package? com.example2, and you take some addition. So this addition is in which package? This is present in my com.examples1. So if I make the this public is an accessibility that you can write before a class or even before a method. So what we are doing, I'm writing before a class. So the same thing I can write it before a method also. So if I write for a class and a method as a public as an accessibility, it means this can be accessible outside the package also. It means where the class A is there, class A is outside the package. So then what I can do, I can create an object of A, I can create an object of addition from A class and I can call an add, right? This is what I have done yesterday. So I have created an addition class object. So why I can able to create this object? Because your addition class is public. So that can be accessible. It means I can able to create. Accessibility, like I can able to do it. So can I call an addition method? Obviously you can. Addition dot add. So this is what a public access. Public means anywhere outside the package you can do. So there is one more accessibility that specifies that you have default. What is the default? Whenever if you apply a default to a method or a class, that cannot be accessible outside your package. It can be accessible within the package. It means I can you have an addition class and I'm making this method as a default. To make this method as a default, I'll remove the public. It means this is my default method. For a method or for a class, if you are not writing anything before your return type, that will be having an access specifier as default by default. So for what I told, if the access specifier is default, that cannot be accessible with outside the package. So if from A is outside the package, obviously, because addition is present in com.examples1 package, your A is present in com.examples2 package. So for sure, I cannot able to access that add method now, which was happened just now before. Why it was happened before? It was public before. Now what is that method? We made it as default. So that is the reason I cannot able to access it outside the package. So you see that is not visible. So if I write it as public, obviously that can be accessible again. I've told all these concepts yesterday, like a small recap. Is it clear up to private and public and power default? What about public and default?
Yeah, public and default is clear.
Okay. So there is something that we write as private. So when you write as private, do not talk, it is not required to talk about a package itself. So when you write it as private, it is within the class itself. So for a default, you can access within the package. It means, I think I have accessed in some constructor example. You see this constructor example where this is there. This is present in the com.examples where your addition is there in com.example. So both are same package. Sure, you can able to access this add method here. It is not showing an error, but it is showing an error here because it is outside. But if I made this addition class as a private, now I'll be getting an error even in the constructor class also, constructor example also. Why? Because it cannot access this add method. Why? Because it is private. Private means it cannot be accessed outside the class itself. It cannot be
accessible to class only.
Accessibility only to the class level. So what is the next thing we have seen is protected. So whenever you make that as protected, so whenever you made it as a protected, even that cannot be accessible outside the package. 1 minute. So you have an addition class. Here the access specifier is protected. So it is protected. Obviously, it cannot be accessible from outside the package. But there is an indirect way of accessing a protected method from outside the package. So what is that indirect way? Whenever I make the child and parent relationship. So what I have done yesterday, for a class, I have established the child and parent relationship. Extends A. So now who is my parent? Addition is my parent and A is nothing but my child. So from here, what I will do, I will create the A class object, not addition class object. I'll be creating the A class object and I'll call which method? I'll be calling the M1 method, which is present in my A.M1. And from there, what I'll do, I'll be calling the super.add method. So super means it is going to call the parent class add method. So parent class add method. Who is my parent class add method?
In the addition
class. So who is the corresponding parent for A? Addition. So addition class, it is going to call add. So you are calling protected method which from outside the package, right? If I execute, you are going to get an output, right? You are going to get that add output 15. So how I'm going to get this outside? I'm calling it from outside the package also. But how I done it? When there is a child and parent relationship and when the keyword is protected. Assume this, it is default. You cannot do even the child and parent relationship. It will throw me an error. This is not visible. When it is default, whether there is a parent-child relationship also, you cannot do it. But it is protected, you can do it. Is it clear? Difference between protected, default, public, private.
Yes.
Okay. Then you can use the numbering for an accessibility, right? Which one will have more access, which one will have less access. So I'm going from the lower to higher. So which will have less access? Your private. So after private, which comes? Your default. After that, you're protected. After that, public. So it more access. So which has more access? Public. Public anywhere outside the package. Protected. It is also outside. It cannot be accessed outside the package, but there is a one rule violation that you can access in indirect way whenever there is a child and parent relationship. This default cannot be accessible. What about private? Within the class. So you are clear with this numbering, right? So what I'm telling, when you do overriding, when we do overriding, that we doing in the child and parent, right? When we do overriding, we should not reduce the accessibility, but we can increase the accessibility. It means when I am trying to do overriding, if it is of default, I cannot make it as private. If I'm making it as private, I'm trying to reduce the accessibility of that method, right? So in default, it is outside the package, within the package. But when it is private, it is within the package. So I'm trying to reduce the visibility. So that cannot be done. You cannot reduce the accessibility, or you can say that as visibility. That method visibility also you can tell. So you cannot reduce the visibility, but you can increase the visibility. If the method having an access specifier as default, I can make it as protected or public. Why? Because I'm trying to increase the accessibility. So the same thing I can show here. So you have an M1 method. So what is an accessibility here? Public. Sorry, default. If I'm not writing anything before a method, that is default. For an M1 method, you're having an accessibility called default. And here what I'm doing in the child class for an M1 method, you can keep that as a same accessibility with the default. But if you are trying to reduce the accessibility, that is private. What it will do, it will throw me an error and stating that you cannot reduce the visibility of inherited method from an aspect. So when you are trying to do inheritance, when you are trying to do overriding, you cannot reduce the visibility. So this is nothing overriding, same name, same signature. But what I can do, I can increase the visibility. It means I can write it as protected, right? Why I can able to write it as protected? Because I am trying to increase the visibility. So for sure you can write it as public, right? So whenever it is of public, whenever the M1 method is of public. So when I'm trying to do overriding, can I write it as default? M1 method is public here. Can I write it as default here?
I think no.
Yes, obviously no, because default is nothing but reducing the accessibility.
Yes.
Right? So public,
Yes.
whenever method which is present in your parent is of public, for sure you should be writing it as public only. You cannot write any other modifier other than public. 1 minute, sorry. I think you are clear with this, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, even I'll try to send this. Okay, I'm winding up the session. So we'll catch up same time tomorrow. And I hope I have given some assignment to you long back also. I hope if possible, we'll try to see that tomorrow.
Okay.
And if possible, try to write this accessibility also and go through the concepts. Like I think you started coding it, right? So anyway, we are having it like a little duration of class, but we'll just make it more worthy. So you go some more examples and come up with some doubts to me. So then it will have some more interactions, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you for your reminding us.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.